Hey everybody, welcome back to another edition of Spotlight on Addiction and Recovery. Scott Jones, your host. Thanks for joining us once again. And a quick reminder that if you like this show, make sure you like the show, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the ATC Network on YouTube. And also check out our training center, addictiontrainingcenter.com. But for now, Spotlight on Addiction and Recovery, I've got a good friend of mine. And, you know, it's so much fun because I get to meet so many people, but every once in a while I get to bring a friend in. And that's what I did today. But Sean Kweskin, a good friend of mine from way up north.
Way up north, West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach?
Wellington.
Wellington? Yeah. Okay.
Florida.
You know, and us being down in Davie, he had to make the drive. Sean, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you, Scott?
You know what? I'm blessed, man.
Yeah.
I'm blessed. I'm happy. We got a chance to do this, and you know, the reason we met is because we met, and you know, we're not going to go through all the names of the places because, you know, unfortunately a lot of them are closed.
It's true.
A lot of them are closed and not doing too good. But we've worked together, you know, in addiction treatment and stuff like that. And what exactly is your specialty? I know you're kind of all over, but...
Well, let's just say, okay, I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I came to Florida about 20 years ago, and I've been working in the mental health, substance abuse treatment fields for like the last 20 years. I've worked at every possible place you can think of as a clinical director, as a therapist, as a case manager, as a group facilitator. Basically, at the end of the day, trying to help people get their lives back. Basically, you know, we're here to save lives, you know, and that's what I've been trying to do for the last 20 years. And what's cool is that I've helped a lot of people, I know, and we've impacted a lot of people in the field. However, the field's been, you know, gone through a lot of changes the last couple of years. And what's kind of good is that they're doing a lot of, you know, going through in the bad apples, the bad places that they really are not in it to help people. They're in it to make money. A lot of them are shut down, you know, so yeah, a lot of that is, you know, going away. And it's the good companies that are around, the good treating facilities that are around that are here to really try to help people and get people back on their feet and try to navigate through addiction, you know. And you really can't put a time frame on addiction. It's just like grief. You could submit to it, but then something happens, something out of left field happens, and adversity basically causes people to lose sight of what they've learned. You know,
right, and right now, I mean, adversity is the name of the game.
Oh yeah,
with COVID and with just civil unrest. I mean, if you want to just put it bluntly, people are losing jobs. People are missing income. They're very unsure of their stability financially and mental health wise and every other way. People can't connect the same way they used to. So we're seeing a lot more addiction pop up.
Yeah.
So we need good people out there working. I mean, yes, there have been some bad apples, but there's also a lot of good people, right?
A lot of good people. And I've often said to clients in the last year or since this all happened with COVID, you know, everybody in addiction who goes to an addiction, you know, however it's manifests itself, we all deal with adversity coming out of left field. We sometimes see it coming our way, and sometimes we don't see it. It blindsides us. And you know, our addiction, I often say, is like on your right shoulder, and your adversity is on your left shoulder, coming out of left field. And with this COVID thing, it's kind of like it's multiplied, you know, times 10. We're not just you're dealing with the adversity of having your children at home, having to work from home, having to curb where you go and how you go, and having to wear a mask all the time. But it causes a lot of adversity for people who are not used to this. We're not used to having to conform to a situation because of health reasons. You know,
right.
And what's interesting is, you know, it's often about staying healthy and staying clean and sanitizing, but it's like this has like been 10 times, you know, it's magnified 10 times. Now we're having to do it all the time, and you know, it's kind of good in a sense because we're being taught, hey, you need to be clean and wash your hands and everything, but now you do it to save your life.
Well, you know, you were always one of those people. I gotta say, I go into his office. There was always hand sanitizer in your office.
Yeah,
you were always kind of like that anyway.
Yeah, but just to be,
this takes you to the next level.
It takes you to the next level, and that's the thing. And I told people when I did groups for people in addiction, I said, you know something, this is just. You just look at it as one more thing we're having to navigate through, having to persevere through, one more adverse thing we're having to do, and we can do it. You don't have to let your addiction take over and say, "Oh no, I'll take out of this. I'll take out of this misery." And this, you know, you can persevere through it and not let that be an excuse to give into it. You know,
so
it's another test.
So you've got a very diverse background as far as the things you've done, but you know, worked in, you know, clinical administration, worked as a group facilitator, a therapist, both group therapy and individual therapy, utilization review, and insurance negotiation, all these things you've done. It keeps bringing you back. Why addiction? You know, it's a real, you don't have to answer if you don't want it. I know sometimes it's a real personal question for people.
Yeah.
What motivates you? I know my motivation. My motivation is my personal experience, the experience of my daughter and of even my mother. And I've got people in my family, but my own addiction kind of motivates me. I have to give back. What motivates you?
It's a great question, Scott. I didn't really realize that I was connected to recovery. I'm not in recovery for chemical dependency. However, about 10 years ago, I identified as a child of an alcoholic. And my father, who was in the field of mental health, was a functioning alcoholic for many, many years. And for me, it was like, okay, he had a job and he was able to make money and was able to maintain stability, but he drank too. So was that a problem? At that point, I didn't feel it was, but 10 years ago, I identified with the fact that it was a problem, that it was something that caused unmanageability in his life, unmanageability when it came to his interactions with others, including his own kids and his wife. And unfortunately, he did not survive that addiction. Back 20 years ago, it was taboo to get treatment, to get help,
Right,
especially for people in the field. You didn't want to, it was kind of like under the table, you know, you didn't want to admit to it. But now it's understood that, you know, when people need help, it's okay to get that help, which is nice.
Well, it's not just understood, it's accepted.
It's accepted. Yeah.
I mean, come on, between you and me, you can't get a good Hollywood starring role unless you've gone to at least 3 rehabs. Right? I mean, it's kind of a precursor to being in Hollywood.
It's right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that big a deal, but I'm glad that you've chosen you know, to work and, you know, working in the addiction field, and now, you know, we're going to do some work together with Addiction Training Center and everything else. It's really about just making a change.
Yeah.
If people who can don't, then it'll never happen.
It's
if you
true.
can, you need to help people.
Yeah, and the thing is, I often tell clients, I often say, you know, you remind me of the help my father never got. You remind me of the help he never got. I mean, if only it's like if only I knew then what I know now, I could have saved him, and I can't, and I couldn't then, but I can save other people now, and I feel like we have, you and I, over time, have saved people and gave people a second chance to get their life back. You know,
and with a lot of what we do is. It's about, I never want somebody to the next day after the tragedy to say, I wish I had said something. I didn't know what to say. I was watching, and I'm not going to bring up their name. It's a Hollywood actress, and her brother died from addiction. And she was on a talk show, and she says, we all knew for years, but there was nothing we could say to make a difference. So we didn't even try. And it's like, wow, how sad is that? We want people to have the ability to make a difference. And the truth is, I mean, think about it, Sean. In your life, it's usually not these big, long, drawn-out experiences. It's one moment that makes you change direction in your life. One moment seeing a woman across the street or across the room and you fall in love. One moment where you see somebody doing a job, you're saying, I want to learn to do that, and you end up in college. It's all those moments. The same thing can happen with addiction. If you're trained to deal with it, right?
Absolutely. You know, when you talk to people, you know, I often say that everybody is living with an emotional weight on their shoulders. We all do it, you know, the weight of, you know, we're externalized. Who do we need to go to? Who do we need to see? What do we need to pay today? What bills do we have to take care of? But a lot of people who go through, have addiction, have a co-occurring situation going on. They have things that were unresolved things that they have buried for years and are unwilling to talk about, and those things can be causing them to give in to poor decisions as it pertains to using. A lot of people have very low self-esteem when it comes to addiction. They have a lot of guilt and shame over what they did, what they didn't say, what they should have said, what they've done in their past, and it stays with them, and they can't seem to unload that weight, that emotional weight that they carry around. And it's something that, as a therapist, it's not just the training, you know, all these things we've done over the years and becoming licensed, but it's really telling them it's okay. You've already paid the price for the mistakes you've made. You've already paid the price. It's now time to start anew. It's now time to make amends when you're able to do that. Obviously, that goes with the 12 steps, but, you know, when you can make amends. But I often say, work on making amends to yourself first, forgiving yourself before you can allow others to forgive you. You know?
Well, because it's hollow. If you don't forgive yourself, then no matter what they tell you all day, it's the girl who says, you say, well, you look beautiful today. She goes, no, I don't.
Right.
She's got to own it herself. You got to own your own inner beauty. You got to own your own inner strength. You got to own your own forgiveness. You've got to own that, and then you can get it from others.
It's true.
It doesn't absolve you from doing the wrong thing. I don't want anybody to think that just because they're an addict, they're absolved from everything they've ever done. Nobody's absolved. But forgiving yourself and then making amends are two different things.
And self-esteem comes from within. I can't tell you or anybody, oh, you're a good-looking person, and you not believe it. It has to come from within. Self-esteem comes from within. You could be, you could be told that you're a good-looking person, or you're doing a great job, but if you don't believe that, and it's something that a lot of people go through, that they're very successful, yet for some odd reason, they don't feel that it's success. It doesn't get past a certain part of them, the layer of them, that they doesn't get past. So that self-esteem has to come from within, and it comes from within when you start to see the positive things about yourself. You look in the mirror and you say, hey, I am a good person. Yes. I have great qualities. I am worthy.
And be your authentic self.
Yes.
That's really the big thing. Now, authentic Scott is, hey, I still love comic book movies. I love music. I love my guitars. I love the people in my life, certainly, but there's things that, I love watching reality television, not the Kardashians. That doesn't count. That should just go away. But all the other ones, Survivor and Big Brother, that's my authentic self. And I own that. I own the fact that I love the Beatles, and I own the fact that I could not name 3 people who have been in the Golden Globes but the one Grammys this year, because I'm old music. I'm not new music. I can own that. We all have our little quirks.
You're not alone, Scott.
What do you own? What do you own about you? What are your quirks that make you you?
Okay. Here's the thing. My addiction. I'm not in recovery for a chemical dependency, but my addiction has been shopping. A shopaholic. It's manifests itself in that way. So even though I am not, I can't really, in a sense, relate to the clients I work with who have a substance abuse problem. I relate it because I understand the disease concept of addiction. That talking about owning that. Not only that, but I love laughing. I love sports. Yep. I love music. The 4 things you never debate about. What are they, Scott? Do you know what those are? Religion. Politics.
That's pretty much it.
Music. Everybody has different tastes, and food. Everybody likes different food. You can't debate all those 4 things. You just stay away from.
The top 3 bands ever, though, it's undeniable. Number 3 is whichever band that you like that lights you up. Number 2 is any band that lights you up. Mm-hmm. Number 1 is the Beatles. Of course, it's the Beatles. That's what it is. Well, the Beatles, that's universal.
But Beatles were an influence on a lot of the groups that I liked. I loved Chicago and Journey and Toto and those kind. They were a big influence on those, especially Chicago.
We got to go out and see Gary when he's with the Wolfpack, because they do Chicago.
I would love that.
Steve Winwood. They do all of that. The yacht rock.
This is music that you can actually hear the instruments playing, whereas now on the radio, you really can't hear the instruments. Seriously.
Or the words.
Or the words.
You can understand the words.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, if you want to know good music, Chicago's Greatest Hits is probably one of the best albums ever. Right up there with Rumors, right up there with the Beatles' White Album. I mean, it's right up there. It's really good. Mm-hmm. I agree. But music is great. See, I think the point is that being yourself, being true to yourself, is more invigorating, more fun than any high or any drunk that could ever happen. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I'll argue that there's no such thing as being high, because when you put that shit in your body, you're low. You lower your IQ, you lower your inhibitions, you lower your ability to control your body functions, you lower your intelligence, your inhibitions. Everything is lower. There's not one thing that makes it higher. Mm-hmm. Doesn't help anything, but we use that lie. It's called the lie of the high. We tell ourselves we're high, and that it's because it gives us that idea. The truth is we're dumber, we're slower, and we're ridiculous.
And the thing is, your reality remains there, even when you under the influence of a drug. That when you come out of that high, your reality is still there, and the goal is you can't manage your reality if you're not sober. You can't manage your reality if you're not clear-minded. And that's the problem with addiction, is that people feel that there's no way out, there's no escape. How am I going to get through this? I got too many things. I'm being surrounded, and they feel the walls are closing in, and the only way to get to escape that is not externally but internally, to numb themselves, to escape, to forget. And the thing is that that's the illusion about drugs. And the problem with it is you have to keep feeding that addiction. It's like, I often use the analogy, Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. Audrey 2, that plant, the man-eating plant, fed on the...
Feed me, Seymour.
Feed me, Seymour. It fed on what? It fed on the blood of people.
Yeah.
And your addiction's feeding on you, feeding on your positive vibes. It wants you to feel depressed. It wants you to be sad because it feeds off of that. And it's an intangible thing. It's an inanimate thing, but it's there. And the goal is for addicts to realize once you're an addict, once you give into an addiction, no matter what it is, you're always susceptible to it. Doesn't mean it's a curse, but you're always susceptible to it. And obviously they talk about the example of the pickle and the cucumber. We're all born cucumbers. Once you give into an addiction, you become a cucumber, become a pickle. Can't go back to being a cucumber. So once you're always susceptible to it. The goal is to be mindful. Aware and mindful that I'm vulnerable, that this is my weaknesses and my strengths, and to be able to persevere through that and be mindful of that every day. I think what happens for addicts who are in recovery is that they lose sight of that. One day they have a senior moment. One day they're thinking with their heart and not their mind, and they lose sight of that.
So you said something right at the beginning of all of that, where it's like they're hiding from the reality, and then the reality is always there.
It's going to be there. Yeah.
You know what the easiest thing in the world to do is? Change your reality. It's as simple as turn left instead of right. It's as simple as say this or don't say that. It's that simple to change your reality, but we don't do it. You don't like your reality? Change it. Let's talk for a moment. Let's a scenario. Sean's had a horrible day. People just bitching and moaning at him, and things don't work out, and he doesn't like his job. He's not happy, and he goes home. And how does Sean change his reality when he walks through the door of his house? What is something that you would do to say, I'm not wearing this. I'm doing something different?
I would not talk about it. Or talk about your day job. You don't talk about it. And first of all, you don't talk about it.
No, but I mean, you would do an activity. Like I would go home, you know what I'd do? I'd grab my guitar, I'd go off in the room, I'd play my guitar for a little bit, change my reality, just like that.
I'd say, how are my kids' day? How are my kids doing? How's your day?
With the kids.
Get involved with the kids, yeah.
That's a big one. That's good.
Going back to something you said, it's also your perspective. It's, you say change your reality, but if you can't change your current situation in the short term, what you do, and I often say this to people, is your glass half full versus half empty. Focus on what's right, what's present, what's positive in your life versus what's wrong and missing. It's so easy to focus on what's wrong and missing, but if you could just step back, take a deep breath, I don't care if you have to take 2 or 3 without hyperventilating, and just try to clear your mind and say, how am I going to manage through this? As hard as it can be, and trust me, I know for a lot of people, it feels like you don't know where the escape is, how are you going to get through this? But you step back and you say, how can I manage through this? And really strategize. How can, in the short term, how are you going to solve this, or at least navigate through it to where it's not going to cause more pain for me or anybody else?
Well, understanding that, follow me if I'm going the right place here, but I've always believed reality is perspective. Mm-hmm. 2 guys out fishing, and they're sitting there, and it's a beautiful sunny day, and they're fishing, and they got their 2 lawn chairs, and they got their little fishing tackle and reel and the box and all that shit that goes with fishing. I don't fish, so I don't know what it is. They got, string. They're fishing, and all of a sudden this cloud comes over and starts pouring rain.
Yeah.
One guy gets up, snaps his pole in half, throws his tackle box in the water, throws his chair in the water, gets in his truck and says, my day is ruined.
Yeah.
The other guy stands up, spins in the rain, slides like he's at Woodstock, enjoys, especially down here in South Florida, rain feels good.
Yeah.
And he says, wow, fish still bite in the rain. And it's beautiful. And it feels good. Yeah. Now, the exact same event, the exact same reality, if you will, but the 2 perspectives create 2 different realities. Mm-hmm. One guy's reality is, this is different. This could be fun. Mm-hmm. This is cool. Now I can fish and go sliding on the grass. Now I'm cooled down from the hot sun. The other guy's going home pissed off. Your reality is everything. That's what I'm saying. When I go through the door at home, does it change what happened to me during the day? No. Does it change that I'm a little disturbed or perturbed or whatever other herb you can come up with? No. But what I do is I change my perspective by saying, let me bring some light music in. Mm-hmm. Let me do something a little different. So now when I look back and say, okay, that's what it is. It's the same perspective that I got when I get a tattoo. While I'm getting a tattoo, my perspective, my reality is, this really hurts. I was stupid to do it. I can't wait till they're done. Yeah. As soon as the pain stops, as soon as I walk away and change my perspective on it, and I look up at the wall on the way out the door, and I'm saying, oh, that'll be a nice one to get next. because now I've changed.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. Am I heading up the right tree there, Sean?
It's making the best of it. It's kind of making the best of a situation. It's like, we were supposed to go out to play ball today, and it's raining, and that's not what the forecast said, but it's raining anyway. So how are we going to do? We're going to have a pity party, which is what people do. A pity party and say, oh, man, it screws up, it ruins my whole day. No, we're going to figure out a way to have a good day, but improvise. I'll do something on the inside. I'll play cards. I'll read a book. I'll watch a good movie. I'll watch whatever it is, but you make the best of it. You just try to improvise and make the best of a situation. A lot of times we have things fall in our lap that we don't expect. Some things we see, as they said, some things we don't see. But as they come, we have to be able to manage them. And that's, to me, it's not just recovery and addiction, but recovery in life is be able to manage your life in a way that's going to be productive, and it's not going to be destructive. Productive and not destructive.
I love it. I love it. And by the way, the whole playing ball in the rain, you can go out and do that. My father used to send me out whenever it was thunder and lightning. He'd send me out to play ball with an aluminum bat. Maybe it was just my family. I don't know. He told me to just stand on home plate and hold it up in the air. I don't know what that was all about. It was love you, Dad. All right, so Sean, this has been great.
Yes,
time has flown by here.
Yes.
I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
We'll do some more of these.
Okay.
We'll do some more of these. And definitely, I want everybody, please, if you like us on Spotlight on Addiction, share it with your friends. Make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell thing so it'll give you notifications when we have new shows. But it's important that we spread the word. This is sponsored by Addiction Training Center. Check us out at addictiontrainingcenter.com. Maybe you think about becoming an interventionist, getting involved, making a difference. For now, Sean, thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
I'm Scott Jones. We'll catch you next time on Spotlight on Addiction and Recovery.